Hi everyone, welcome to our presentation. And before we start and introduce our colleague, I want us to think about what we're trying to discuss here, which is basically collaboration between learning designers and course leaders and lecturers, and try and think of all the times you have to collaborate and have discussion about what to do and how to do, and when it was a good experience and when it was a bad experience, and all the different challenges that we have in this. And today what we want to present is basically our collaboration, how this, we think, is a good story for us, success story. So we're going to talk about how interdisciplinary collaboration in online course design can work. And we developed this course called the MA in Strategic Fashion Marketing, which is a full Masters of Arts online, 12 months, and it's at the Fashion Business School at the London College of Fashion, which is part of the AL. Okay, these are my co-presenters, Kirsty, who's the course leader of the course, Dr. John Benavides, or John, which is our learning technologist, and I am Giacomo, which is the digital learning producer. So we try to sort of think, and this is all retrospective, so we've done the collaboration first, and then we try to extrapolate how we collaborate together. But this is a visual representation of our expertise. So Kirsty's expertise and interest is in teaching practice research. My interest is in digital learning research, and John's main interest in science of learning. So when we put all these three interests together and disciplines, we get to what we will show today is course design, and we'll show a lot of images. So it's sort of show and tell. So the three parts which we'll touch on today is basically where we try to see how these areas intersect and how we use them. So the intersection between Kirsty's interest and John's interest, we use it to sort of build motivation and interest in the students. Okay, so that's where we think their interaction really gives us fruits. The interaction between myself and Kirsty, we use it to sort of try and optimize the digital design for learning. So how we represent visually on Moodle, sorry, I didn't mention we use Moodle, the pedagogy and the learning journey. Okay, so that's where we, collaborate. And between me and John, we're trying to sort of implement what we say cycles of deliberate practice. So how the science of learning, what tells us in terms of, the mastery and how to really understand a topic, and how, again, we represent it on Moodle through digital learning design. Okay. So these are the three main areas. Now I'm going to give over to Kirsty, who's going to talk about how she designs the digital spaces to foster belonging and motivation in the students. Okay.
Hi everyone. This has been really interesting because we have just come out of another workshop. We were looking at the dynamics, the conflicts, the hierarchies, the power struggles between digital learning teams and academics. And don't get me wrong, it happens in our institution, it happens in our school, it happens on fellow courses. But when the three of us sat down together almost 22 months ago, we just listened. We listened to what each other was doing, how we wanted to work. It was the second online course in the business school, but it was being built from the most popular postgraduate course we had on offer, which was always way oversubscribed with fantastic students. And I came to it with a real need to think about access for education. So there was a real consideration and understanding those remote learners. So I am based remotely. I work from home. I have a disability, which happened about 3 or 4 years ago, which means I have physical constraints. But because of online technology and because of how we can now learn and work, I'm emancipated from any problems I would have had before, and I really empathise with my students. But the whole kind of motivation has come from Bunting and Hill, who did a paper on belonging and motivation and compassionate learning and inclusivity. So how do we make students feel part of something and connected to us as individuals, connected to each other, connected to their course, without ever being in a physical IRL space together? So one of the first things we did to build community was our course website, and this was kind of based off the fact that the Moodle homepage isn't great. It's tiled, it's linear, it's constrictive, half the pictures I want to use just look a bit rubbish. So John and Jack said, look, we've done some work and this is really working. This is built on SharePoint. I had no idea SharePoint was anything beyond file share. And they've created this incredible piece of work. And this is our digital campus. So this is where our students belong. This is where we communicate every single week, which I'll talk you through in a second. And this is where we inform them as well, because one of the biggest challenges with online students is induction. How do you make sure they're fully informed and ready to engage with that learning? When induction's intense and you're just sitting there going, oh, that person's from over there, they sound interesting, or what's going on here, or I'm excited about this course, are you taking in all that key information? So we have a induction library on this as well. So it's kind of got a use, and it's just a nice place to exist. So we use this to build our community, and we use it through a connected sense of belonging, which kind of brings us back into engagement. So we are using very classical pedagogical theory that we know if we give students a sense of belonging, they're more engaged. If they're more engaged, they attain, the course is happy and the students are happy, and there's a better space for everybody. So one of the things we do is a weekly newsletter. Now, as an academic prior to becoming course leader, I used to hate the course leaders. Weekly newsletters came from Moodle. So I'm a very aesthetic person, worked in the industry for 20 years before moving to fashion, and I worked in marketing, and it was all about image and selling a concept and idea. And this horrible, flat, written, text-based communications meant to inspire students for the coming week wasn't great. So again, this is something my colleagues suggested, we've kind of developed together. We have this weekly newsletter, and I use it to humanize our experience. So we talk with voices. I write it myself. I keep it really conversational. I invite my team to write in it and be conversational. It's relaxed language. And we kind of bring everything together, and we kind of talk from a visual perspective as well. We connect on our appreciation of shared goals, so about making a real difference to fashion, about how we can give our students this change-making ability. So we hack through industry challenges each week. We talk about what's going on. We talk about the fact that Match's fashion going into administration was so sad, never mind the fact that Fraser's bought it before that. We talk about these things. We talk about what that means in terms of our studies, and how we can make a change in the future. We have also thought about multimedia a lot. So how people learn through not just words, but also video, which is a commonality with all of us in online learning, and audio. So we have created a course podcast, which went live yesterday and has had 88 listens so far publicly, which is great. It's called The Thread, Fashion Marketing Unraveled. And it's meant to be a very decentralized space. So I think that's a big part of building community, not giving a hierarchy of staff to students, and hierarchies within staff as well, making it very, very flat. So this first episode was hacking out what happens with your master's dissertation. And is it true that if you just keep reading, at one moment the light bulb kind of comes on? So we invited back one of our star students from last year, it's our first year in the course, who did a beautiful dissertation on the artification of luxury. And she discussed it with one of our supervisors and with another member of staff that kind of hosted as a journalist. And it was just nice and conversational, but also there was learning methods in it as well. And finally, community to me is not all about social events, but we do have to do social events as well. It's an important part of kind of just having fun. So the students, actually this week, they did an online social, and it was based on a TikTok trend. You know, they're all Gen Z and into things that they can share. And they took along a tray. So it's about, again, that visuality. So taking along a tray with a drink and a piece of food and an artifact that told their fellow students about who they were as people. And they said it was great because they just chatted. They didn't really talk about the course. They just talked about life, and it was really nice. We're doing speed networking as well, and that includes industry and staff. And it's just about thinking about the whole time how we kind of keep that connection alive and don't have it centralised just to me as a course leader or to each other or to one particular tutor. And we're not totally there yet, but we're learning a lot, and we're making some progress. Okay, hand back to Jack Mo for the next part.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about how we design the digital spaces to hopefully enhance learning. So by digital space, I mean how we design Moodle. Okay. So again, I'm going to show you. So this is a typical unit site. So you have the title, and I think my job as a designer here is to remove all unnecessary noise that sort of get student attention from what we want them to try and attack pedagogically. So I think someone said before in another session, we're trying to make the pedagogy as visible as possible, so it's quite obvious what things are. So this is a visual division between the handbook. So always at the top, you have this three section where the unit handbook is. This is just information about the units. And below you have the weekly plan. So you have each box represents a week with a title and a topic, okay? And this is consistent across obviously all the units and it's all the same weekly journey. So now I'm going to go from the macro into the week and how we visually represented each week and why. So this is a screenshot, again, hopefully you can see from the back of the room, but it's visually divided into three sections and it's always the same. At the top, we have this what we call a weekly provocation, which is a question. Okay, so we use this to engage the students before they start, the learning or reading an academic paper or watching a lesson. It's a question that's usually linked to a topical event or something happens in the industry. So it's there basically to fire the brain up and think, okay, I got your interest now. Let's go and talk about this thing, which I can actually talk about before I read anything that's above my level of knowledge. And it's one thing to note that we had the form below here, and just by adding the green button, the response went through the roof. So I say it's quite clear. It's just answer here. Yeah, use simple language. The second part is what we used to be called self-directed studied, which we changed to what you need to prepare. Because our learning design is based on you do something before and then we meet for a seminar. So what you need to prepare before you come to the seminar, and we use that language. It is self-directed studies, but it's what you need to prepare. And again, each week we use most week, but say 95%. It's three-stage. There's something to read, something to watch, and something to listen. So read, watch, listen. First part is it's an academic paper. People mentioned ABC acquisition, so it's something that they have to read and engage and think about. The second part is the online lesson, which John will talk about more in detail, which is the central piece of the week. It's a series of videos and activities and feedback. And the third is a podcast, which we use for contextualization. So it's something that's linked to the academic part, but hopefully puts it into the sort of real world context. So again, the students can make connection between the theory and the actual industry practice. So they can actually make sense of why we're asking them to read that difficult thing. And one thing we added recently, which seems to be, again, this is all anecdotal evidence, is estimated times. So this takes roughly an hour to read. This is 35 minutes long. This is 35 minutes. So the students know that, okay, I need to assign 2 hours to prepare for this seminar. And okay, they seem to like it. And the last part is what we'll do together, which is the live seminar. So what we'll do together when we meet, and we're asking you to move your schedule to be with us at this specific time. And again, it's the title of the seminar, when it's happening, what we're covering, and a button, and no more. And we have a timetabling system, like what's it called? One of those, but it's quite clunky. Self-cat. Yeah. So we thought, why do I have to go to the timetable and leave the week from Moodle to find out where I need to be, where the link to the session is? Just, it's more work for us to do it, but once it's there, it's obvious, they don't need to learn what to do, okay? But that is, why we think that visualize the journey this way might, enhance the learning experience of the student by basically making obvious of what you need to be doing in a sequence. And now, before I give over to John, we'll try to do something. I don't know if it's going to work, but we'll try. If you start this QR code with your phone, it's going to bring you to a little H5P quiz with some definitions that we use. So, well, This is it. You don't have to report on your results. You don't have to do anything. It's just something that to keep you occupied. Between me talking and moving. There you go. So I'm gonna give you. Let me see. 30 seconds to answer. I'm gonna bring this back for people online in case they haven't. Okay. 15 seconds. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. Right. There you go. So how was you managed to access the page? Yeah, fine. That's it. Nothing more for now. You just a little break in between some of the sections. There you go. I'll give over to John.
I mean, some of the terms that you just checked over, I will use them to explain what we're trying to do with the online lesson. And the online lesson is like the main part of testing programs, part of the learning of the students. So when we talk about before about the science of learning, what we're trying to do is to be systematic. So let's try to apply what we know systematically so that we can evaluate if it's working or not. And the main objective of the online lesson is to implement that journey of delivery practice. And what I mean for that, because we know that delivery practice is key for developing advanced expertise, and that's what we want for students to become advanced experts. And this is how we're trying to do it. So the first part of the lesson is all about motivating topics. So we talk about the website and the design of the site. These are more or less extrinsic motivations to the topic, but now we want to motivate the topic to intrinsically. Right? So we want the students to be passionate about what they are going to learn. Yeah, that's good. So how do we do that? So at the beginning of the lesson, there is a first part that is all about how we motivate what they are about to learn. And we do this in following the following structure. So the first thing that students see is a bit of text. You will see the language in a minute, but it's just to introduce what we're going to do. Then after that, there is an activity to position the topic within the context of the unit, so they know the value of the things that they are about to learn. Then there is a short video, and we're using videos mainly to motivate the students to keep them motivated. And then after that, there is an activity, and this is probably the key part of the introduction to the lesson. There is the active engagement, that is to make the students to think about what they are about to learn before they learn about. Okay, and I emphasize the importance of this. That this is something we don't do much, but we know from research that is key, that the students think about what they are about to learn before they get any kind of information. So they create this mental model about these things that they can contrast with the things they will be learning in the lesson. Okay, and let me show you now. So this is the structure, and let me show you how the students see it on the site. We are using a Moodle lesson, a mix in between the Moodle lesson and the HPAC activity. So this is, for instance, an example of the introduction. You can read a little bit about the language we're trying to use. So we're trying to keep in mind that we're trying to motivate the students. So motivation is so important, but we don't talk enough about it, that we need to keep the students motivated, because it's going to be hard. It's going to be a hard lesson, so we have to keep them motivated. This is for an example of an activity to position the content of the lesson within the unit, and it's a simple activity when they match the learning outcomes of the unit with the learning outcomes of the lesson. And this is an example of the video, and the idea is to create a very short video that the students watch and that motivate the content of the lesson. And this is the example of the activity that they do for active engagement. This particular lesson was about innovation and the business innovation and how to deconstruct successful innovation to understand why they are successful. And this activity in particular, we gave them the Apple Store model of innovation, and they just have to deconstruct it using the model they're about to learn. But they don't know about the model yet, but they can do the activity. And the activity, the activities are designed in such a way that they are hard to do it. So it's very likely you will fail the first time you do it. And we check the average, they complete the activity successful in the lesson is around 2 or 3 times. So, and that's a criteria for every activity. If they don't do the activity correctly the first time, the activity is well designed. And now we're going to show you what follows. So now that the main idea of the lesson has been introduced, now we move to the cycles of learning, practice, and feedback. And the way we implemented this one is very similar. So we introduced a short concept or idea with a video. The main purpose of the videos is to motivate things and present things. And then we move deeply into the context, and we use a mix of text and activities. So they read something and they complete an activity immediately. So they read like a page and they complete an activity. And from the activities, they receive immediate automated feedback. And we go back. Yeah. So this is the structure of a cycle of practice. It's a localized cycle. So they learn about something, they go deep into they practice, and they get feedback to check they understand it correctly. And this repeats in the lesson intensively. So if we go back, so this is the lesson menu, and this is more or less how those cycles are then implemented. So just keep in mind that every section almost contains an activity. So it's a very intensive cycle of watching, learning, and do activities and receiving feedback. And this is how the lesson looks there, and I would like to show you how this looks in Moodle. So this is how an example of a video looks. This is we can try the videos to be very short. This is a long one, but the idea is to have good, engaging videos. And we move. This is how text is presented to the students. And when we go back again, there's subtle things like this one, but we try the design also to keep the engagement with the students as well. And this is an example of an activity and feedback. And well, I get the feedback from the automated responses, plus the feedback that the activity allows to provide. And that's the structure of the online lesson. That is like the main part of the asynchronous part. And then I hand over Kirsty, that is the live session.
Okay, so after they've done the online lesson, what we need to make sure we do is kind of maintain that bubble of motivation. And we use our good old balloons taxonomy to move them up through from initial elemental understanding and knowledge attribution to coming into a real discursive space where we encourage them every single time to be very critical. So criticality, being active within the classroom, is really important. More about criticality with every assessment, so we try and get them to practice it. And what we try and do is focus everything around decentralized problems. So we take something from the lesson, we apply it into an activity, and we just do one activity. So they come in, we chat about the week, we do an icebreaker every time, we chat about the lesson, we talk about the weekly provocation that was in the forum, and then we go into this activity. So we work in the central problem, and we get them to immediately apply learning. So when we go through analysis, so this was a hack for a footwear company who gave us a really great problem of trade's bad. That was it. Help us get trade up. And so we worked through this kind of ideation session. This is a template from Miro, wasn't something we created, we adapted it a bit. And got them to think about how they can apply what they've learned within a commercial context, but also deepening that academic understanding. Flip classroom, it's talked about a lot, right? But it's never done really that well, in my ethnographic opinion. But actually, when it is done well, and Kelly, one of our colleagues, practices it beautifully, it really is hard flipped back to the students. We are just there to structure, we don't add content, there's no extra learning, it's about deepening that learning in the seminar. And it's really helping them develop advanced expertise. Now, we're in the second year of this course and we're in the third cycle of recruitment. And I am finding that the students coming to our course are less about an academic future study, which we get in the on-site course. They're very much, I'm coming here to really either stand out in industry and propel myself in somewhere that should be competitive, or start my own business, or we've got quite a lot of senior management, so that return to learning, that want to kind of go up after the kind of big roles and feel they're stuck. So it's a really good exercise that it gives meaning, so they connect to why they're there. And to round up, this has just been one of the best experiences I've had in my career, because we just all learn to listen, and we're not reinventing anything, we're not doing anything that advanced and that special. But just by the three of us, we're all so different, coming together every week and chatting and sharing. And I think being very mutually respectful is a really big part of our practice. We've created something really special, to the point where, and we are 2 years in, or not quite 2 years in, 2 years of planning in, we've reapproved and redesigned the course purely based on learning design. So we have tidied the curriculum a bit. But we've taken, like, block one's gone from 3 units down to 2, 140 credit unit with embedded research methods. But it's about the plan of how we teach our students. And it's early days, but we're really proud of where we are. And I think this conference has made us think there's so many more things we now want to add. We've got major to-do list, but yeah, we just wanted to share our story and what we do. And yeah, welcome your comments, and thanks very much to Giacomo and John for their presentations as well.
Fantastic.